Hey there! Today I am making some turkey stock using the leftover carcass from yesterday's turkey. I just had it refrigerated overnight. What I'm going to use for that, first of all, I've got a 5-gallon stock pot here. I've got some garlic and onion and carrots. I would like to also have celery, but we used it all up yesterday. I've got a little parsley and some olive oil. So the first move here actually is I'm going to saute the vegetables there just a little bit. So I'm just going to fire the pan on. I'm going to let that get hot, and I'm just going to toss these in here right now just to save a little bit of time. So I'm going to let this get hot here and then just saute them for a little bit. All right, so this veg here is sauteing up, it's browning up a little bit. I don't want it to get too much more black than that. I'm really just looking to get some caramelization and whatnot going on, which is happening. I did find a big old sack of celery seeds in the pantry. I'm just going to add that just for a little bit of earthiness and a little dimension of flavor. At this point, I'm also going to season somewhat with some kosher salt and some fresh cracked pepper. We'll just get that in there. I'll probably wind up adjusting this a little later on, but I'd like to get a bit of that onto the vegetables here right now. And I'll let it keep going just for a second here so that those celery seeds have a chance to get a little bit of direct heat. Now just right on top of that, I'm going to add my carcass here. I'm going to just actually dump it right in, along with some of that beautiful meat juice that was in there. So from here I've got the thigh bones, I've got, there's one wing in there, as well as obviously the whole rib cage and main part of the turkey. I'm just going to let that simmer for a second here. On top of that, I'm going to fire that parsley, just for a little green. And then I'm going to add a whole lot of water. So we'll be back once I've got this covered with water here. Here we are. I added about 15 liters or so of water to this. I've got it cranked up on high just so we can hit a boil as quickly as possible. So I've got everything in here, and the goal right now is just to get it to kind of like a really strong simmer / super low boil, and let it sit for several hours. And yeah, we'll check on it once it's kind of hit that real hot simmer situation. Here we are. It's a touch more than a strong simmer, but this is actually probably perfect. I'm going to leave it like this for several hours. I'll just keep an eye on the actual water level. If it's dropping more than a couple of inches, I'll just top it up, probably with some boiling water from the kettle, so I don't lose time with it at this temperature. And now it's just all about breaking down all kinds of stuff here in the meat and in the carcass and whatnot, and just extracting everything that's going to make an awesome stock. So this is after several hours. It went for about 7 or 8 hours. And now I turned it off about an hour ago just so it could kind of cool down. Now the trick here at this point is I'm just going to extract, oh my goodness, some of the skin and some of the larger parts of the carcass that are still hanging out in here. Where else would they have gone? Pull them out. Everything's kind of fallen apart. Okay, so I think that's most of some of the larger stuff. So now the trick is I'm just going to start to scoop it out, and I'm going to run it into this container here. So this is actually just a salad spinner, but this is sort of going to be my first line of straining. So I'll do that. Then I can just pick it up out of here. And all of that larger stuff is stuck in the container. And then I'll do a second little strain for now, just through this colander here. You can see that that's all that, like that semi-decent stuff that is still stuck in there. So I'm just going to repeat this process until that's completely drained, and we will see what it looks like afterwards. Now, after transferring everything and straining it, we wound up with all of this broth here. And yeah, so that's a decent amount. We'll see how much that fills jar-wise. And this is everything that was strained. Now there is quite a bit of little chunks of meat and stuff like that in there, so we're going to go through that and see what we can separate from the bone, because that'll make some really excellent turkey soup. Now I'm just going to get all my jars ready and whatnot, and then I'll be prepared to start filling them up for canning. So jars are all lined up here, ready to rock. And I've got this awesome little jar filler tool there. So I'm just going to fill them all up now, and I'm going to try to get them all somewhere around 1/4 of an inch or so from the top of the jar. And once I have these all filled, I'm going to get the lids on them. Well, as it turns out, I needed to grab a few extra jars. You'll see actually what I'm doing here is I've double layered these jars in the pressure can. This is a little sweet trick that I picked up from my mother-in-law. It totally works. The only trick is that, so I've got the 1/2 liters on the bottom and then some 250s on top. And as long as these kind of sit in there nicely, there are some of these 250 jars that are, let me just grab one here, that are a little bit wider, and it doesn't actually tuck right in and it could slip off. So I'm going to use the ones that sit in there really quite nicely. This will actually wind up saving me a run of canning. Otherwise it was going to need to be 3 runs. As it is, I can do it in 2, which would be perfectly sweet. You'll also notice that I have repurposed some old lids here. As long as they don't have any physical damage to them and there's nothing kind of stuck on them at all, I've had no problem reusing them, and I've been canning for years and years. I am going to be pressure canning these because I've got the 500 ml jars in there. I will be doing this at for 20 minutes between 12 and 13 pounds pressure, and you wouldn't really be safe using a water bath for this just because of the low acidity of this broth. So it's not really safe to just boil. You really do need to pressure can it. So at this point, I'm just going to fire the lid on of my pressure canner here. This thing tucked right on here. And I'll get her locked in and check on things here in a minute. Looks like we are getting pretty hot in there. I've had it on high the whole time. Getting close to throwing the weight on there, so it can actually start to build up significant pressure. In the meantime, I actually just finished doing this. It was about 10 minutes, and I picked through all of the everything that I had strained. And this is all just meat and veg. I got all the bones out, any leftover cartilage, connective tissue, anything like that. And that's going to make for a healthy pot of turkey soup. Oh, sweet. So this is ready now. I can go ahead and get that weight on there. We'll start to build some pressure here. And once we get up to that, just over 12 pounds pressure here, just based on my elevation, we can start the timer for 20 minutes. So, round 1, it had a 20-minute pressure cook. I pulled it off of the heat and it has depressurized, so I'm just going to get this open. Just steam there. See, everything is looking good in there, so I'm just going to pull them out and then set them up over here. I'll line these up and then I'm going to get round 2 going, and we'll see how everything looks once they are all done. Here we are, all done. So in the end, I wound up with 11 3/4 liters of this turkey broth that we made. It's looking absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what a person's motivation might be for this. It could be trying to save money. It could be just trying to create a product where you know exactly what's in it rather than purchasing store-bought broth, or if you're just trying to be responsible and use as much of an animal as possible. In the end, it was shocking how little of the turkey actually wound up getting composted. By the time we had dinner, had leftovers, made this broth, and also had leftover meat there for the turkey soup. Really, it was just bones, some skin, and a little bit of collagen that wound up getting tossed out, and that was it. So anyway, this is beautiful, fun and easy. It's a great way to have lots of stock on hand for making soups, doing all kinds of stuff, sauces, rice, whatever you want. So yeah, until next time, keep her at 11.